We will now individually describe and demonstrate each of the screens as a part of the functional movement screen. We would first like to indicate that we would suggest the same footwear which the athlete would wear in a cross-training circumstance. The first screen will be the deep squat. The deep squat is a movement needed in most athletic events. It is the ready position and is required for most power movements involving the lower extremities. The deep squat is a test that challenges total body mechanics when performed properly. The purpose of the deep squat is to assess bilateral, symmetrical, and functional mobility of the hips, knees, and ankles. The dowel held overhead assesses bilateral, symmetrical, functional mobility of the shoulders as well as of the thoracic spine. The description of the deep squat requires that the athlete place the feet slightly farther than shoulder width apart and place the hands on the dowel so as to form a 90-degree angle at the elbows with the dowel held overhead. The athlete presses the dowel overhead with the shoulders flexed and abducted and with the elbows extended. Then descends slowly into a squat position with the heels on the floor, the head and chest facing forward, and the dowel maximally pressed overhead. The athlete is allowed up to 3 chances to perform the test. The criteria for obtaining a 3 on the deep squat is as follows. Upper torso is parallel with tibia or toward vertical. Femur is below horizontal. Knees are aligned over feet, and the dowel is aligned over the feet. If the athlete does not achieve the criteria for a score of a 3, he or she then performs the test with a 2x6 board under the heels. If the athlete receives any pain or discomfort throughout any part of the screen, then a score of 0 is given. Now, let's review the deep squat. Now, as you've seen, Steve has a very good squat. However, we want to indicate a few things to you here that you may see as people tend to compensate. Let's start 90 degrees at the elbows. We want to press the arms above the head. The feet are positioned so that they are approximately shoulder width apart. And now Steve will begin to descend into the squat. Now, in some situations, as people start to descend and ascend, you will see the foot start to pronate, which will also cause more of a valgus stress at the knee, or the knee will actually start to collapse. Back up. And as indicated earlier, we want to make sure that as Steve goes down, his thigh or his femur actually breaks horizontal, which is indicated here, so that the hips actually go below the knee. We also indicated that the dowel would need to remain in a position above or within the space of the foot. That's just to make sure that the dowel does not come forward and thus rest beyond the toes, as in this position. This would also indicate that Steve could not drop below horizontal, and therefore the femur would be too high. One more time for me. Also, in some cases, we see an amount of excessive lumbar flexion, and that's usually identified also with the inability to drop below horizontal. Very good. Okay, and that's a review of the deep squat. Good. In addition to that, we want to make sure that as Steve squats, he maintains an upright position so that his chest and head is facing forward. And this in turn will make sure that the spine and the tibia stay parallel to one another.